Hello, everybody. Today we will have another reality talk session, and we will host RMIT University. And it will be a hell of a session, let me tell you that. So let me introduce you our speakers. We have David Beesley, Technical Services Manager in School of Media and Communication from RMIT University. In the same university, we have Trewlea Peters, who is actually a pioneer teacher and teaching Rodensti's reality engine in RMIT University alongside animation, VFX. And RMIT University collaborated with industry leaders shooting in their state-of-the-art studio. Through Christy Fuller, who's an RMIT alumnus, and with Tina Harris and Mark Harris's project, Lala's Stripy Sock Club, they shot amazing projects, and we will get to that all in this session. First of all, I will stop screen sharing and let everyone say hi to you.
Hello.
Hi. And hi. Of course, we have Umut, who is Business Development Manager at Rodensti. So I will give the word to David to start off giving an overview of what we're going to discuss today and start with RMIT.
Fabulous. Thanks, Biram, and thanks everyone. It's great to be here, and hello to everybody. So today, obviously, we're going to be talking about RMIT University's experiences with reality. A little bit about the school and the uni, life before reality, the system, learning to crawl, which is our first year, installation, trailblazing, and our pioneers who are here to join us today, which will be awesome. Learning to walk after 2 years of playing with reality, where we're at, how far we've come, and learning to fly. Opportunities for the system and the university in a post-COVID world where we'll have an opportunity to redefine what it is to collaborate. So it should be an exciting discussion. So RMIT University, or the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, it's been around for a while. It was founded in 1887. It's a global university of technology, design and enterprise, and a leader in art and design, architecture, education, engineering, development, computer science and information systems, business and management, and communication and media studies, which is the area where we all work. There are 86,000 enrolled students and over 6,000 staff, so it's a big organisation. Its main campus is located in inner city Melbourne, but we also have a presence in Vietnam and Barcelona. So the department I'm with is the School of Media and Communication, School of Design, and the School of Vocational Design and Social Context. And the actual programs of study that use our broadcast facilities and in particular our virtual set stuff include, but aren't limited to, our diploma and advanced diploma and associate degrees of screen and media, including television production, live production and technical services, and our bachelor's and master's degrees in journalism. And the virtual set technology in our broadcast facilities are also used extensively by industry partners as a research space and for work integrated learning opportunities. So a huge part of RMIT's ethos, if you like, is real world engagement and making sure our graduates are ready to sort of take the lead in emerging broadcast industries. So an exciting space.
Nice, thank you. So you had a virtual studio located in your university. So tell us about this decision that you decided to switch to reality and how did the transition worked. So how we met. This is how we met story.
And it's a really cute story too. So RMIT has had or been teaching sort of television type stuff since the 50s. Excuse me. And our former studios were built in sort of the late 60s and a bit tired. The university did a really major redevelopment, the new Academic Street project. So we had an opportunity to build a state-of-the-art facilities was our brief. Not these, that's us back in the 1950s. We've come a long way since then. But as part of building the state-of-the-art facilities, we needed to undertake research, find out what trends are emerging, where industry was heading. That's what the studios used to look like. So we went on all sorts of research, including a field trip to NAB show, one of the major broadcasting trade shows in 2016. And on our very last day, down at the back of the International Exhibition Hall, was this very unimpressive looking exhibit, which was basically a bit of green pro psych in a corner, running the most mind-blowing software we had seen in our trip. And it's virtual set software, which basically allows a whole renaissance in television studio production. It takes it out of the physical world into the virtual, and it's where broadcast and gaming technologies converge. So this mind-blowing system run by a bunch of hairy Turkish guys. We swapped phone numbers. We said we'd be back. I think they thought, yeah, it's the last we'll see of those guys. But lo and behold, a couple of years later, we knocked on their door and said, guess what we're building?
Nice. So, can you, well, first I want to ask Umut, how was those days? Were you hairy looking, for example, as David?
Yeah, I was just
David
noticing the
states.
guy that moment in the booth. I was just noticing the guy, just looking in the, the green box, like just open the eyes, wide, and just that was the first time. And then he came back again. Just I don't remember, maybe next day. And then the first conversation that started with him. So how are you? What you're doing? And this is how it started. And after that, we get into touch. And then just they invited us to the University of Australia. And I've been there, I think, 3 times, as far as I remember. 2 times. So once for 2 times, yeah. So once for this installation, and the second time for the training. These are separate times. But of course, I mean, the crew, the RMIT crew, the students, the teachers, the assistants are all great and quite smart guys to just handle all things and quite fast, because it's quite dynamic, because it's a university, and which is quite charming for me as well, because I was quite enjoying that times that I'm just noticing that people just get quite involved that fast in the technology and just getting the benefit of it. And today, when I just see the approach since 2 years, I just it's just really mind blowing. I just quite respect to these guys, and of course their hospitality and friendship will be together all the time, I hope.
So great. Well, Umut and the humble both of us impressed you. Our technology impressed you. So you switched on this technology. So can you tell us what is the comparison between your old studio and reality?
Look, chalk and cheese. We went from a studio building in the 1960s that was nearing the end of its useful life to the state-of-the-art facilities we have today. The state-of-the-art facilities. Come on, Biram, the next slide. Not that one.
I think I find it state-of-the-art.
All good. We'll get there. But look, the actual reality package, not only the fact that virtual set technology means, what a small confined studio space becomes the only limits your imagination of what you can turn it into. But why this particular package drew our attention was it was based around the Unreal Engine. And that game engine is, and the workflows behind modeling and building environments for it, is also the same software package used by our animation and games programs. So immediately this became a source of collaboration where we could cross-discipline or mix cross-disciplinary teams who perhaps wouldn't otherwise be working with each other. So, we've got our vocational education students from Trewlea working alongside our media kids, ideally working alongside our games and animation designers. So it was an instant point of collaboration and a way of implementing a future technology which really is heralding future trends in broadcast.
Okay, thank you. So you adopted this technology. So how this journey started? So you call it learning to crawl. And let's talk about this installation and period. What type of students got to use this technology? And what is the teacher situation? Tell us about how your school handled reality?
Yeah, thanks, Biram. Look, it was an exciting journey. It was a quick journey. So we were literally building our studios, pitching their capability to our academic staff, getting all our installers actually on site. Our training comprised of an initial 1 week intensive, not even that. The first few days were spent calibrating our system. So we started off as a construction site, trying to run a live university whilst we're doing this major construction undertaking. I think it's fair to say that we were nervous. My technical team were very keen to point out that they're not 3D modelers or designers. They come from a traditional broadcast background. And that was our new facilities. Thank you. We finally got there. So they're pretty spanky. And, you know, the reality virtual set stuff is a perfect sort of fit for these sort of facilities. But we were terrified. We basically only had a few months to install it, come to grips with it, and then start passing that knowledge on to our students. So it felt like a steep learning curve, particularly as we wanted to introduce it to numerous programs, from journalism through to our vocational education programs. But we managed to get there, and we had a lot of support from obviously you guys at Zero Density along the way. And I think we've achieved some pretty impressive results.
Nice. So there's this conjunction between departments and industries, and then we have Lala. So let's get to that a little bit. How this conjunction happened? How did it improve the relationship between RMIT and this industry? And of course, there are viewers in the end, but let's not get to that. First, let's start with this meeting, how this conjunction happened.
So basically, I've been talking to Mark and Tina about doing a preschool show with them called the Stripy Sock Club, and that they'd already done a prior season of where they'd shot it all on green screen and done all the post-production kind of afterwards. And just at the same time as this kind of conversation was happening, we got like an email invite through our alumni saying, hey, come and check out the new RMIT TV studios. And a bunch of us that used to basically live on campus doing TV shows back in the early 2000s were like, yeah, we'll all catch up and see the new stuff. And we walked in there and I was like, we could totally do Lala stuff here. And so I got Mark and Tina to come down from Sydney and check it out. And that's where we started discussions.
Tina and Mark here looking great. Just saying. Please continue.
And yeah, so they came down and they saw it kind of, you guys saw it mid-construction, didn't you? It was very...
It was basically a great big hole in the ground and a whole lot of boarding up. But we met Dave and Luke and the team and you know, love at first sight, Dave.
And we're really excited about the kind of promise of what might be possible.
Yeah.
We had seen another a virtual set demonstration at Kidscreen in Miami, and we're kind of, it was brand new to us, but it looked amazing. And then just to hear that it might actually be possible that we could use such a system ourselves for a show was very exciting.
So the next step was when the studios were finished, and I think, Christy, we must have come down to visit Dave and the team 3 times, I think, during the actual construction.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching it now, isn't that silly? I get distracted watching everybody. And then the first we had to do was to go off and do a proof of concept, because it's all very well to say you want to use new technology, and but explaining that to a broadcaster is a really massive leap of faith. So we organised to come down in January. How many years ago was that? Remember what year? Must have been 3 years
2018
ago.
was the first test shoot.
We just basically shot out a couple of scenes of a script that we'd had written and a music video clip, and we had some children come down and join us on set, because we also wanted to see what it was like to have kids in the space as well. And it was that particular test shoot that was the experimental phase for us, which allowed us then to go in and show the broadcaster, this is actually what we can do, and this is what a series could potentially look like.
Yeah, nice. I wanted to show this in the beginning because it gives a great insight on how it looks in the end. And now I'm going to show the proof of concept that you guys worked with the designer, because seeing it alive, it always creates a better understanding, and then we can take a look at these designs. So this was the I couldn't speak, concept phase. And then that video was That World Come Alive. And you actually shot one episode on this, right?
Yes, when we came down for the test shoot, we needed to produce enough content that included some dialogue scenes, some music scenes, to show to the broadcasters that this sort of hypothetical new technology could actually be turned into a TV series, because the Australian government's really excited about innovation at the moment, and particularly 12 months ago, or 12 to 18 months ago. And so when we walked through the door to our main screen funding body and to our broadcaster and said, look, we want to make this new show, you know that we work on green screen, but we now have an opportunity to work with this brand new technology that's sort of developing and is really fantastic. And they're like, yeah, but does it work? Like, will it look any good? And it's like, well, we'll come back to you. And so that's when we came down in January, and we shot about 5 minutes of footage over 2 days. And the Unreal Engine environment wasn't completely finished at that point. We didn't really know how Unreal Engine worked. I think we commissioned a designer through Christie in Tanzania or somewhere like that on Upwork, who quickly wireframed something up for us and rendered it and put some lighting in. And it was really that build was the basis for the final environment that you saw in the previous pictures. And yeah, we were able to shoot and to get a sense of some of the tricky issues that we might have to deal with should we turn it into a full production.
And Dave was also gorgeous, because when we came down for that test shoot, one of the things that we found out was the actual green screen that was existing at RMIT was not quite wide enough for us to have the 5 band members on the screen at the same time. So RMIT was amazing, and they went off and they extended the green screen so that when we came back for the actual full shoot, we could get everybody on the green screen and have more flexibility moving around.
I think one of the key benefits of a system like Zero Density is the ability to really move the camera. Preschool television shot in traditional green screen is usually done with a locked off camera, because tracking camera movements is just so time consuming, and it just adds months and months in post-production. But to find out that we could not only track but have lens effects and lighting, all the bells and whistles that Zero Density offers, was just so incredibly exciting. And so but it really required a wider green screen so we could actually move the camera from side to side, because there it just wasn't wide enough.
Pretty amazing. Before moving on to your full production in RMIT, I want to go to Trewlea Peters and talk about getting the students ready with this technology and produce great work. So Trewlea, up to you.
Hi. Well, when I got back from long service leave, which was in 2016, Rowan told us at the first meeting I went back to that the NAS Media Precinct was getting this amazing upgrade, and mentioned Zero Density's virtual studio. And I was beside myself. I was so excited. I just said, me, I want to learn how to use this space. And I kept hassling David and going, when are we getting training? When are we getting training? When's it opening? And I waited a year before we got our training. But it eventually, Amut came over and gave us our crash course. And then we just hit the ground running. It was only the beginning of the next year, so we'd had a little bit of time to tinker and experiment prior to classes starting. But because vocational education starts quite early in the year, like at the beginning of February, we didn't have a lot of time prior to the students coming in to really master the studio. So I always felt like I was 5 steps ahead of them at that stage and not much more. But I was very lucky that the course that I was teaching has a lot of experimentation and trials, and it's all about research and experimentation. It's called Design, Animation and Visual Effects. And because they're second-year students, they were advanced diploma students, they already had developed skills in camera, lighting, sound, story writing. That's the second semester. And yeah, so I was able to utilize the skills and encourage them to use the skills that they already had in a virtual environment. So really it was getting them to focus on how to use reality. What's the difference? They had done multicam, so they had worked in the main Studio A of the NAS Media Precinct. So it was more about getting them to understand the difference between a standard green screen studio and the potential of reality, what it was capable of doing. And once they saw that they could actually place 3-dimensional items that were in a 3D environment in front of them as they walked through the environment, they were just blown away. Like it was very exciting times. But there was also a lot of hurdles along the way because we were learning the technology and things would happen in the studio that we didn't understand. And yeah, we were very lucky to have Umut and Naeem's support from Turkey, because they really understood the difference between, you know, rapidly fixing something for a broadcaster and problem solving with a learning institute. And that was very important that we got that extra TLC to not just have it fixed, but understand what it was that happened so that we could like explain it to the students and say why things were happening.
Thank you.
So then in the second semester, which is the one you were just showing, in the second semester, because the first semester was successful, I felt a bit more confident that instead of just, and also the associate degree sits between higher ed and vocational education. So I wanted them to be able to develop their ideas further, not just use the technology. And after we successfully completed the first semester, I felt like I was able to let them actually create a genre, like a short genre film. And Sebastian, who's in the picture that we're looking at, really embraced that technology. He was the one student in that whole year that just sunk his teeth into it. And he actually even got the ZD camera node and did some beautiful sweeping shots through the 3D environments to edit into his short film. And I've got that short film there if you want to. It's only a small part of it. I just edited it. But that's the first film there.
If you bear with me in a minute.
That's got, the first one's also got. The first one's also got some of the first semester stuff as well. So it's a combination of what we achieved in training in 2018.
So these are all shot by students.
These are all shot by students. These are all students. They came up with the ideas themselves for the experimentation. They're using skills that they've already been trained in, you know, cinematography, lighting. I taught them visual effects and editing. So yeah, I was getting them to think about how they could use virtual with and composite other skills. And this one does have audio, this bit here, if there is any audio.
Oh, no,
oh, that's okay. I'll talk through it. So you can see these beautiful sweeping shots that Sebastian came up with. And these guys did sort of a neo-noir nod to Blade Runner, you could say. They were trying to find somebody who was missing in this post-apocalyptic environment. As far as the environments in the first year, both David's team and myself purchased 3D environments from the Epic Games Marketplace, and that school we were just looking at is my favourite. I absolutely love that abandoned school, but we also got spaceships and all sorts of things. So that's why I lent it towards genre, because they could actually create something they couldn't just create in, you know, by set design in someone's house. I wanted them to push those limits a bit, and that's why we went with the idea. I gave them a choice of sci-fi or fantasy or post-apocalyptic as their genres to do that film.
And I thought truly it was really exciting how you guys also moved away from many of the more traditional applications of this, which has been sort of a news or sort of sports context. So you guys using it for more dramatic production is just fantastic, really inspirational stuff.
Yeah.
Well, also, this is more my background, you know, like I'm more a filmmaker than a broadcaster. And as soon as I saw it, I was just like, oh my God. And one of the things I really want to look into, which I've started doing, I'll talk about later, but like using it in more things like museum installation ideas and remote learning and things like that. Okay, so this slide here is good. As I was saying, like it was a steep learning curve for the NAS techs and myself. We really worked so well together. I'm so happy with that, you know, the techs are so supportive, and we worked really, really well together that year, especially a nod to Luke Raisbeck, who, you know, sat by my side for many an evening trying to work out what issues were going wrong. And I've already said the other bit that, you know, it is great to work with Zero Density, who really understood that we weren't a broadcaster, that we are a learning institute, and we just needed the problem solving aspects of it rather than just a rapid quick fix. And I guess I'll, if possible, maybe go over to Amut, who maybe want to say something about the differences between
Now and then.
us and them.
Yeah, actually, yeah, the first time that actually you remember those times when I just came back there. So it was like, okay, it was a 1 week, as you said, it's just a course, but yeah, we covered actually all the big picture at the beginning, and then we go into details a bit. But after that, I just really, I haven't seen that clips actually, by the way, that we have just seen. This is my first time, and I was just like, while sitting and looking, like I was thinking at the same time, oh my God, that is it. But actually, what I would like to see it, and it's amazing thing that, because that was just a, you know, 1 week training. Then after that, it's all the learning curve is just handled by you and by yourself and your students. And this is just, you know, try and see and getting experience thing. This is really exciting for me, and for, of course, for the Zero Density to just seeing that fast improvements by yourselves, and just to see that, I mean, and the students actually, that's really, I mean, I'm just really surprised. I mean, which means, I mean, that these students that get involved that much in the system, and they just trying what they want to do, trying things that the guy just, you know, throwing this light from his hand, the light ball, I mean. So these are really good, I mean, let's say experimental things can be just it shows that it's how students can get involved and what they can achieve, how can they just drive their imagination and just make it happen. That's really exciting for me, because I just wanted to see that it's because, you know, this is the future, and these guys will be in the industry in a few decades, maybe, I mean, a few years. And then this just brings all of the idea, all of the purpose of us just in a real life in the near future. So this is actually, for me, it's quite exciting. And it's proud. I'm proud, actually, yeah.
So thank you, Umut. Now we heard from Trewlea the initial stages of learning reality, teaching reality, and try to do a few student projects. Now we are moving to learning to walk face, which is including our pioneers coming back to the RMIT studios to shoot a full production, and of course working with students. So we are, I think, back at David to walk us through this period.
Yeah, thanks, Biram. So after our first sort of initial year, which was a real whirlwind and paradigm redefining sort of year, it was quite wondrous. We realised the only limit is your imagination. So I think we're a bit more confident in our second year of use and prepared to push the boundary a bit further than we had already. So to kick it all off, we thought we'd drag Umut back across just to give us another week of training, I guess, picking up. Now we've played with it for a year. There were some concepts that we were prepared to delve into in a much more greater depth. Now that we understood the pipeline and some of the features and the pitfalls and some of the areas we were having trouble with and other areas where we sort of really took to it like a duck to water. So we got a lot more out of the second week, but still only 1 week, and then we're back into it again. So it was a busy year. We had Trewlea teaching, and she'll talk about her second year of that very shortly. But we also had
Sorry, not
Is that,
sorry.
is that what you meant?
That's
Sorry,
the
not
one. So, yeah, Umut back again. Looking a bit frazzled dealing with us, but no, he's very patient, infinitely patient. And we had a lot more attendees from a lot more different departments this time. So there was Trewlea, there was my technical team, but then there are also academics who work in the School of Design, who work in the spaces of VR and AR and games, interested in poking their head in. So a whole lot of people, I guess, had the seed planted of the potential of this system. And again, you can see the collaboration between various departments starting to occur, which is absolutely brilliant. We have a whole lot of student groups that started using it for their own projects, which they stream and broadcast on some of our community broadcasters here. So this is a thing called The Rush Behind, a show about Australian rules football using a virtual set, which is the first student-driven show to start embracing that technology. And they were very quick to adapt and see the potential. They incorporated virtual sets in our live coverage of the federal election, which was a massive student highlight. We had our first attempt at data-driven graphics in a completely virtual environment, including video replay in the background elements, 2 engines so we could switch between cameras. And it was really quite an incredible and very technically ambitious live, underline that, production that was hugely successful.
I remember watching the election that night that it was on, and Mark and I were just completely blown away. And we're like, where is this being done? The ABC doesn't know how to do this. This is incredible. And it wasn't until afterwards we were talking to you and Luke that we realised it had been done in Melbourne in the studio. But it was the most fantastic election. If an election could be really interesting to watch, it was because of the technology.
Look, it was pretty cheeky on a number of levels, we thought. We were showcasing tech that our mainstream broadcasters just weren't using, or if they were, it was pretty primitive, I must admit. So that was a real coup for us. And the other real coup is because this was a collaboration with journalism departments across the country, we were doing live crosses, video crosses to electorates across the continent with zero lag. Again, which made the mainstream broadcasters look a bit amateurish. So yeah, we were absolutely stoked with the results of this thing, and it was a fabulous student experience. And it looks $1 million. It's absolutely great.
Yeah, and it's really, you have a lot of cross collaboration between departments, school departments, industries, and it's an amazing learning experience and taking a glimpse of technology, which is amazing.
And that's why it is so exciting, Biram, because there's so much convergence now in the digital communication industries that this is one of those spaces, both real and virtual, where all sorts of opportunities for collaboration can occur. And again, the major stumbling block seems to be our I guess almost historical view of how production was done, at least from people in my generation, is really interesting seeing our students take to it. You know, they're digital natives. They just get it right from the very onset. They go, oh, it's a game engine, of course. And they just push the boundaries and the potential instantly, and come up with ideas and things they want to do with it that we're struggling just to even conceptualize. It's such an exciting space. Plus, it's reinforcing to all those parents out there that those many, many years the kids have spent gaming throughout their high school years is actually leading to productive and lucrative careers.
True. So we are back to Stripy Sock Club. So you got the green light from the TV channel and you're back to RMIT to produce your shows. So let's get to that story.
Yes, well, the things in TV land often take a long time to get all of the funding ducks lined up. And so for us, putting the pieces of the puzzle so that we had the complete funding budget together, it took longer than we had hoped. And there was a shoot window opportunity at RMIT, and we wanted to make this window, and the broadcaster also had a date that they wanted the show delivered by. So the window got smooshed closer and closer together, which forced our production timeline between shooting and delivery and then broadcast to be a bit of a record, I think. What did it end up being?
Well, we'd very cheekily pitched ever since we were explaining to the broadcaster and Screen Australia about this new technology, that one of the great benefits of it was that because everything is composited live with a perfect key up front, that there's very little post-production. You know, we'd have an online edit really, and it's pretty much ready to deliver. And so, yeah, we shot in June, 3 weeks in June, and we delivered by the beginning of September. Or mid-September, I think it was.
Yeah, so it was a very, very quick turnaround.
And we shot 18 7-minute episodes, and they were all bar about a minute of each episode was shot using reality,
which was just amazing to do. But I think for us, one of the greatest benefits working at RMIT was working with the students. Christy, how many students did you have working under you and your team at that time?
Oh, I think we had about 15 students come on board, so in various capacities, because we also had them in the post-production team and the pre-production team as well. So it was really nice to kind of like go back and, having been a student at RMIT, and then like have these students come on board and do like a real life thing, because we would have absolutely died to do something like this when we were at school. So it was really nice to kind of have them come in and put their, you know, classroom stuff into a real life experience and go, hey, and now it's a show on TV, which is kind of really cool.
It was really great, the structure that we had in the team, that Christy and her company brought kind of heads of department for every department, from camera to art to editing to, you know, sound. Everyone was one of Christy's teams, but then each department also had one or more of the RMIT students who were directly assisting, and so you could just see them learning, just soaking up not just zero density but also production workflow, you know, in an industry context as well. So you could see how excited they were.
And I think from an industry point of view, working with students is really invigorating. They were so you know, excited and happy and you know, fresh in the morning, and we were all old and jaded, and you know, it was just lovely. It was such a great environment. You turn up early on set and there's all these smiling, wonderful faces that, you know, nothing was too hard. They were just so keen to learn, and that's, you know, it's such a gift to have, you know, on a long shoot day. So it was really wonderful.
And they'll try anything.
Yeah. To Trewlea's credit as well, like there were some jobs that I couldn't have a head of department for because nobody knew how to do that job. So there were students that were like operating the reality engine, because I don't have a crew person on staff that knows how to do that. So we were at the whim of the students and the techs, and Trewlea would come in, just pop her head in like in the morning sometimes when she was at work. really quite the collaborative effort. Because if we'd just been left to our own devices, there's no way we would have even known how to switch it on.
The magic, I completely agree. Actually, truly, there was one of your students who was driving that
Erin.
Oh my gosh, she was just a champion, absolute champion.
I was going to start by talking about Erin and the Will project, because Erin was the only, because Patrick had to go, that Erin was the only advanced diploma student. She was the only one who had actually had experience in virtual. You had a lot of my students in there, the wide-eyed bushy tail ones, but they were diploma students, so they had used the studio as a green screen, not in virtual. Erin came and saw me a few weeks before we finished our productions at the end of training, and she just said, "Trewlea, they've got me as the reality operator." And she was like, "I need your help." So we just did a massive crash course, and I just sat her down, and each time after we finished the assessment, I would run through everything and then get her to tell me, okay, how would you do this if this happened and things. And that's why I was sticking my head in. I was just making sure that Erin had absorbed everything and she was remembering everything that she had done. And I was so proud of her, especially who was that genius that had created your 3D set with all of those amazing triggers.
Yeah, so Mark Grentel, our director, who we had, I'm such a big believer in the universe providing the most amazing people when you need them. We were at our recording studio in Sydney, and I was lamenting the fact that we were looking for a designer who could, in Australia, who could do, because of the funding that we were trying to go for, who could do this kind of tech. And the owner of the studio in Sydney said, "Oh, you should talk to Mark and the team from Spectre. They have an office upstairs. They work in Unreal." And so we caught up with Mark and got on like a house on fire and started looking at the beautiful animations and designs that they were working on, specifically in gaming. And they started to explain how they could build out the environments and the different locations within the Lala world, and how they could trigger animations to actually move and interact with the characters. And that was really, really exciting. And so Mark actually ended up coming and being the actual live action director as well. So his team in Sydney built all of the sets and designs, and then Mark came and was on set with us and was working with Christie's team. So it was like, it was kind of like a perfect combination of creative people. Mark also came down, I think, Dave, to RMIT and had a couple of test runs too, with the techs to kind of plug things in and make sure before we actually got down there with the cast that it all worked.
Yeah, so we worked with Mark and his team and my techs to basically embed a lot of those triggers into the reality workflows. So, and that's the beauty of working with this. It's all node-based programming, so it's a graphical sort of intuitive programming language that allows you to enhance the interactivity in the virtual environments you then put your human actors in, if that makes sense. So it's a major paradigm shift, but such exciting possibilities. So we were triggering doors opening, we were triggering lighting changes, we were triggering weather effects, all from within the virtual set environment in real time as your actors are on the green screen interacting in this sort of virtual 3D space. So, I mean, it was a fantastic learning opportunity for us, taking our levels of sophistication and confidence with the package to the next step. So thank you guys. But also, the outcomes are just mind-blowing. And as Christy said, and Trewlea as well, there's a whole generation of new jobs out there that we struggle to put names to, things like data wranglers and reality operators. It's like, wow. But I mean, these are the technicians and the creatives and the engineers of the future. And we can barely put a name to what some of these roles are. And yeah, it's just a super exciting point in time. And we're privileged to have been part of that process.
Oh, sorry. When I went to enter the IMDb credits, there's no credit for reality operator because it doesn't exist yet. So, it was like, oh, what do we call that role then? So it is interesting that it's just like, it's so new that there's not even a name for it yet. yeah, the RMIT staff and everybody was just so supportive. Like, they would have texts like stay back late so that they could call Turkey on their time to like troubleshoot things. There was never anything that was like not taken care of by the next morning when we walked in. It was such an amazing team of people.
And I think part of from an industry point of view, for industry to come and work in a university like what we did was a fantastic opportunity. But I think what really made it possible for us and made the process smooth was Christy being an alumni student graduate, because Christy was kind of the bridge between the industry and the pressures of hitting broadcast deadlines and all of those things that come along with it, but also being able to speak university and be like a shepherd across the students and
make sure that the university was getting what was needed for
exactly.
the student outcomes as well.
Yeah. And I think that was really, really, really important. And that's why the relationship and the production ran smoothly. I think it could be challenging for industry just to come flat up and try and work within a university. But I think the clever way that RMIT has done it by having graduate students as the production companies that you work with, I think that's absolutely brilliant.
And the bruises have gone.
Funnily enough, Dave was actually our studio tech when we were studying. I know that.
You will hit his age.
I was debating whether to mention that point. Thanks, Christy, for making me feel
and
very
Trewlea and
old.
I produced some community TV together back in the day.
We almost tag teamed. I was in RMITV, and then just as I was getting too deep into my study and couldn't do it, that was when Christy was really getting into it. So we had this sort of 1 year where we got to know each other, and then it was like,
wow.
you know, Christy was off and I was like, oh, too much study. So yeah, it was funny. It was just, it was such a, you know, long history of RMIT dedicatees.
Well, that history is ongoing. RMITV, Christy, you'd be pleased to know, are also embracing reality tech and seeing the potential and doing their own experimentation, which is fabulous. And the other thing, we are still holding up the whole Lala shoot as our work integrated learning exemplar. You know, the students got screen credits, they had industry exposure, they worked on 18 episodes of a kids' TV show that went to air. They got payment for some aspects and they got credits towards their courses. Plus, it was a hell of a lot of fun.
I would ask something about that. How many of your crew members actually consist of students? And can you just summarize the roles they took on? Just to give our listeners an idea.
Look, it was probably almost a 50-50 split, because we would have our heads of department. So we'd have our director in, but the assistant director was a student. We'd have one of our camera operators, and then the B camera was one of the students. We had a head of art department and then a couple of student helpers. So yeah, it was really very much a collaborative kind of effort.
Very nice. Tina, did you have anything to add? Sorry, I cut you previously.
Oh no, I was just going to say that the students were so fantastic that, you know, a number of them came when we went on live show tour later that year. A number of them came and worked with us, and then actually there were 2 or 3 lots now, I think, that we've gone on tours and we've actually had a number of students come and work with us, just because they were so great and fun to have along. And we will continue to reach out to the ones that we've worked with. And I know that there's we had some guests come and visit on set who were also other producers, and they were really keen. They were watching the students. They were, you know, flagging the ones that they were like, oh yes, that's a person I'd like to work with, blah blah blah.
There were definitely standout students. You know, I mean, Erin operating the reality dug in hard and was, I think, incredibly stressed for most of the 3 weeks that she was on it. But you know, I mean, she learned a skill that, you know, nobody else has now, and really acquitted herself to a very high degree. Caitlin Bibby,
and Billy and the team.
Yeah.
I think also there was a number of students that were doing behind the scenes doco footage, and they were incredibly diligent. You know, the amount of footage that they captured, and you know, we've been going back through it and looking at what they shot, and you know, it's what a great experience for them to have, and what an incredible luxury for us as industry to have. A documentary team following you around, capturing, you know, this kind of little, yeah, exactly.
Well,
and there's a show that's gone to air nationally around Australia and is now, you know, for sale around the world, and it's got their names on it, and it's got Zero Density all over it, and it's got RMIT all over it, and we did it. It's a miracle.
It's also, you know, it claims a number of firsts as well, Mark. I mean, it's the first virtual kid show in Australia. We're the first uni to be rolling out this sort of technology in an educational environment. Truly, you're trailblazing and pioneering. And Christy, you know, being an alumni and that, it's just been a fabulous compilation.
Oh. Just getting the band back together, you know.
Well, the industry feedback on all these Unreal Engine or game engine based technologies is that the technology is amazing and everyone wants to adopt it, but there is one question mark that is on their heads, and that's the short of this skill that people who can learn Unreal Engine, who can operate Reality Engine. And actually, Australia doesn't have this lack of the said problem. You are educating these talents to the industry, and in particular case of Australia, there is no lack of. I don't know if Umut might agree, because I'm sure he often hears this, that it's a great technology, where am I gonna find the people to do this? And well, you're providing it all.
My point is here, actually. Of course, the manpower or the people who knows Unreal Engine is actually, yeah, you can find many of those guys around the globe, because, you know, these people are working in architecture industry, you know, the design industry, gaming industry, so now broadcasting and media. So, but the problem is actually, what's the missing link is, when we are talking about media, which is a new trend, comparing the architecture and you know, the design and gaming, the link is actually how we can just make that connection in between the knowledge, the know-how of media and you know, broadcasting with gaming engine technologies. So that link needs to be done. But of course, there are key roles who are playing those in this global. Who are those guys? Some of them are like us, developers in the companies, but most important, of course, the universities and the institutions that just, you know, train, just open the minds of the students, just show the new technologies of the industry now coming out, what's going to happen in the near future, what's expecting us, you know. So that's why, so the role is the universities are the key here. So this is what I think. That's what struggling is previously, not today maybe, but now just getting much more easier. But previously, we were struggling with this, just make this connection in between those different, let's say, markets, industries, gaming industry and media, entertainment, and this link was a bit difficult those times, because as I said, there must be some minds, just drive people to just open their mind and eyes and just understand and get the experience. And thanks to RMIT, and they are just doing a great job for us and for the world and for the students in the Australia. So for the bring up the future to all of us, you know.
Yeah, thanks so much. So moving on from that collaboration, I'm going to Trewlea to give us more examples about this cross-industry, cross-department collaboration.
Yeah, maybe the gaming one's the next one I need to take on. But what we did is we did a collaboration between screen and media, interactive digital media, and sound students. So obviously the sound students were doing the production and post-production sound. The digital media students they all worked together, but the digital media students designed and built the 3D environments in which the screen and media students were going to be using for a museum installation. So I was trying to get them to think about historical recreation, and also to keep it localized. I wanted it to be that it was hypothetical. It was an industry style production, but it wasn't actually working with the museum. But also, again, it was the first year that we were attempting something like this, so I certainly wasn't at that stage of confidence. But it worked so well. When Arthur and Eleanor and I got together and started brainstorming ideas on how this could work, because vocational education, you have to really follow the guidelines set by the government. You cannot break away from that. So it was not just a matter where, higher ed have the luxury of being able to develop a lot of things outside the box. We had to really sit inside that those government guidelines. But we sat down and we looked at our competencies, and we found a way that each of us could bring this into our assessment and work within the elements that we needed to for the government. And we were really surprised. Some of the students are a little bit shy, particularly digital media students, because they're 3D students. They tend to, hide behind the computer a bit more. Some of ours are a bit extroverted, as are the sound ones. But get them all together, and you could have knocked us over with a feather. We got those collaborative groups together, and they just went for it. They just sunk their teeth into it, and they were throwing ideas around and really got into it. We were quite surprised how well they collaborated together, because again, it was the first time we'd attempted something on that scale. And it was the first time, obviously, in a virtual environment. There were other collaborations in different styles across the school, but this was the first time we'd attempted something like this, and we were very proud of them for coming up with their ideas. So if you have a look at this slide, all of the 3D environments that you're looking at were developed by RMIT media students, the digital media students. Our students had to get all the props and costumes right. In this one, you're looking at post-war, and I'm just sort of looking at the stills, working out what 2 are post-war or during the war, World War II, and then the third one is the 80s, which was the release of Donkey Kong. So
show one of those.
They all came up with their ideas and developed them. Then in the second semester last year, I allowed the associate degree students. Oh yeah, please show this. Yeah.
Yes. I was
so again, we're without sound, but you can see how they had to match the green screen with it, and there are the props, which the radio and the toys are props. So anything that had to be interactive with the actors had to be brought in and had to look like it was part of that time and place. There's Patrick, that's them working on that one. This one was very ambitious. They attempted to do the release of the first Holden in Melbourne, and you can see the reflection in the lights and things there. They did a lot of work on that, but yeah, of course, they didn't quite get the realism right. This is outside the Young and Jackson, which is a very well-known pub in Melbourne. And they were doing this for scamming people to try and get extra food stamps during the war, rations and things. So they were doing the sort of gangster style thing there. So that was some of the work that they had done. And then in the second semester, I allowed them once again to create a genre film, because it was so successful the first year. I decided to just go with the same thing again. But these guys were I love teaching, don't get me wrong, but these guys were an absolute pleasure. I loved teaching these guys. Every one of them was just really into it. I found in previous years, you'll get a couple of people who will get onto reality and have a go, and the rest of them are like, no, I'm a camera person and I'm a director or something. But with this group, they just alternated the crew roles and they really got into it. You can see by the look on his face there, he's just like laughing at his mates and like loving it. And yeah, and the next one shows some examples of the work that these guys did. But by the end, I pretty much had my hands behind my back. This group came to every class. They all came every week. They were really into it. They were so excited to be using this virtual technology. And I've got a little promo thing there at the end of, and it just shows, you can see.
I'm a little bit nervous about today.
Yeah.
The whole time travel thing.
Well, I mean, they say once you go back, you'd change.
As you know, a disease wiped out most of humanity 200 years ago.
Duh.
I know, yeah. So I'm going to send you back in time to give this cure to the first person you see.
What? Well, not really. Oh, no. Oh, Jesus. Hey, do you have that vial?
That's why we're here.
But who would you need to give that anti-venom to?
I kind of forgot who the doctor said. I mean, I think it can just be anyone, right? So if we get this straight, we have to give this to someone. This is clearly not 1920. And this is kind of an absolute shithole in here.
No, but of course it can
There's
work.
someone.
No, of course it can work.
him the vial.
I keep talking about.
Do you know what language
Oh
that
my.
is?
Hello.
You do it. I don't want to do it. What if I fuck
This
it up?
is what the capitalists want. The capitalists want easy solutions.
Do it quickly,
They want
shut
us
him
to be
up.
submissive. What is that? What is this?
Haha, my plan worked. Everyone's going to die.
There you go.
Bad.
Not bad. Why's that?
No dragon flying around the place, isn't there?
Oh, too true.
Yeah, it's just burning everything in sight. Tell you what, old mate's place copped it a couple of nights ago. His cat got roasted. He was just in tears, I tell you.
So you gonna go kill it?
Oh yeah. Nice.
Mate, this dragon's bloody loaded. Hold up.
What?
We should nick some stuff before we go.
We're murderers, not thieves.
Gadzooks.
A woman. Queen Gadzooks, yes, that's me. My guests. Welcome to my birthday party.
Ma'am, there's a sign out front that says Dragon's Lair and it points right here.
Oh. Yes, I guess you're right. That is what they call me. The dragon. Oh, Queen Dragon.
Wait, you're the dragon?
We're looking for a dragon, burns down villages, kills neighborhood pets.
Yes, all right. I accidentally burnt down one village one time. And one time you burn down a village and then all of the villagers are like, oh, this queen, she can't protect us, she hates us. Oh, she's the worst queen ever, she hates us villagers. Oh.
Oh.
So yeah, this project is really professional, if I may say.
Okay, so this is obviously, I've butchered these. I've cut them apart a lot. They were about 4.5 minutes long. So I've just sort of cut it down to show the different environments that they shot in. And these guys did a lot of exploring through the environments and had like saved a lot of their R-graphs before we even started shooting. So they saved all the node structures and they knew exactly what scenes they were going to be using, and they storyboarded from the 3D environments, and then they wrote the script. So it was sort of reverse engineering, but it was the way it could work best in the virtual environment when we had set environments that they could use. But yeah, they had a really good time doing it, and therefore I had a really good time too. But I think it had also a lot to do with it was the second year and things were going a lot smoother, and I was feeling more confident, and therefore they felt a lot more at ease too.
Yeah. Thanks, Trewlea. So, learning to fly. So we are back at David to talk a bit about the opportunities in the post-COVID world. What are the future projects, plans, dreams you want to do?
Yeah, thanks, Biram. So obviously we're anticipating, you know, the current trajectory of Trewlea's classes to continue, and hopefully some more industry collaborations, and then a little virus put a spanner in the works for everybody, which was initially a shock. However, we truly believe, particularly with everyone migrating to seminars such as this, getting over their stage fright of webcams, playing around with virtual backgrounds, and figuring out new ways of working remotely and in the digital environment. This heralds major possibilities for the media and communication industries. So we can't wait to get back and fire up reality. At the very onset, we're going to use it as an environment from which we can deliver rich educational online delivery. So tailor environments specific to the subject matter being explored, literally. Mix it up with augmented graphics or augmented reality. So the possibilities for engaging with a large audience are massive, and we're excited about that. Travel in the immediate future is going to be challenging, particularly global travel. So again, using these technologies as a way of bringing people together by hosting virtual seminars and conferences. So we can actually build a consensual environment, if you like, and have guests magically appearing from all over the planet, as long as you're on the green screen, in the same virtual environment. So the opportunity for hosting seminars and research things is huge. And what you're looking at now is actually one of our academic staff, Dr. Adam Nash, doing a presentation in a virtual environment, fittingly in an Antarctic environment, because he was literally on his way down south to conduct some field research, which is where he is now. So the possibilities of using virtual environments or studios enhanced with virtual graphics to add to a much more deeply engaging presence, and it's so flexible and quick. And I guess we're busy planting the seeds to see what people are going to do in this new space as we redefine, you know, the way we communicate and collaborate in the post-COVID world, which will have its own set of challenges that we think our students are fully equipped to grapple with. We're very excited about it, actually.
Thank you. What about you, Tina and Mark? What are your future plans? Do you want to shoot more episodes, new projects? What do you
We'd love to. Yeah, we'd love to look at filming some more episodes. Any excuse to work with Christy and the RMIT team. It was such an amazing experience.
It's amazing. We make 18 episodes of a TV show, yet we still forget to clean the lens on the iPhone before taking a clear shot.
That's great, isn't it? No, it was the most amazing experience. And for us, we're currently with, you know, apart from television, our primary business is live show touring, which there is no live show touring at the moment. So we're like so many other artists, looking at ways to become more relevant online, and also now working to build educational platforms and things on the back of our website. And you know, these are also things that we you know will be definitely looking at bringing to RMIT in the future, and having those conversations about how we can start using these beautiful, you know, worlds and you know, incorporating that. Yeah, more.
And it doesn't just need to be dramatic context. You know,
No.
we work a lot in music education for young children. So even just little shorts to, I don't know, introduce an instrument from a different culture. You know, you could pull out a shakuhachi and be in a pagoda in Japan, and you know, doing something that's really engaging for a young child. You know, the opportunities are
And now that the world for the Stripy Sock Club is being built, it's so tempting to look at how we can create other areas and build that out further, and what kind of things we could do with gaming and how we kind of incorporate all those things. So really it's going to come down to time and money, I think, and different ways that we can potentially take it. So yeah, it's all very, very exciting. Yes, definitely watch this space.
Yes, thank you so much for joining Umut and I today, because I think it was a very inspirational session, and it will be on our YouTube channel. And as I see a few comments on, I hope it spreads wide and far away for educational institutions to, I think they will find all their questions here in this session. So thank you so much for joining us. If you have any final remarks, I can have it and we can call it a day.
Thank you for having us. It's been such a pleasure to connect with everyone and be here tonight. So thank you.
And thanks for making Zero Density. It was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you all, guys.
Your support.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. And thanks for, well, I'm glad we discovered you at the back of that hall in Vegas, Umut. Should do it again sometime. But no, super excited that, to have worked with all of you, industry and academia and our developers. And again, super excited about our potential collaborations moving forward. Looking forward to it too.
Thank you everyone for joining us.